Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles at Great Millstone who rule well. And salutations to you brothers all across the four winds who are suffering in faith and sincerity. ABC News has been revealing a lot lately. And they have an article that was from today, earlier this morning. Pope summons bishops for February Abuse Prevention Summit. And look at them. Look. And so we just gonna go down to this first precept. This is Matthew chapter 7, verse 15. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. And see, so that's one of them. See, because ironically, Pope Francis is an Israelite. That's what makes him a false prophet, you see? Because he's not just like the so-called white man who, people perceive him to be like a white man because he may appear to be that. But in all actuality, he's from Argentina. So, he's Israelite. So he's the real problem here because he's convinced the entire world, first of all, that this is a small scale problem. Second of all, that there's not, just about everybody involved. But he's truly what you call a false prophet because he has the people's imaginations just at his disposal. He can say a lot of shit. Pope Francis is summoning the presidents of every bishop's conference around the world for a February summit to discuss preventing clergy sex abuse and protecting children. Evidence that he realizes the scandal is global and that inaction threatens to undermine his legacy. And he doesn't have a legacy. Ultimately, the place that you call the Vatican is going to be unveiled to be a terrible place. Because the whole Catholic, and there are a lot of Israelites that came out of Catholicism and came into their nationality and whatnot. So, no knocking them, but man, the Catholic people are hard to talk to because the conditioning is so, it's just so rapid, They go in twice a week. You go into a really nice Catholic church, or it could be a shitty one, and just a certain way that they do things. It's just odd. It's out of place. Francis' key cardinal advisors announced the decision Wednesday, a day before Francis meets with U.S. church leaders who have been discredited anew by the latest accusations in the Catholic Church's decades-long sex abuse and cover-up scandal. So every time they try to cover something up, you see, it gets revealed because the Most High is started to make it apparent that these are the workers of iniquity. This is Matthew chapter 10, verse 16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. So this is two things. Number one, Israelites are the sheep, right? So we're being sent amongst these wolves. Now, 2/3 of the people are obviously going to get caught up in all sorts of foolishness, such as the Catholic Church, and therefore aren't going to be ordained to get any sort of heavenly knowledge. They're clouded over, and there's nothing you can do for them. Two-thirds of Israel has got to go. That's a sad reality. It is what it is, but 1/3 and the hopeful elect will make it forward. This is prophecy, and this is something that is known to be true. Simply because these precepts are apparent more and more every day. This a cover up, right? So it says decades long sex abuse and cover up, right? So a cover is a veil. So we'll just see what the word veil comes up with. This is Song of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 7. The watchmen that went about the city found me. They smote me. They wounded me. The keepers of the walls took away my veil from me. So your ability to cover up whatever you have going on. Right? And the watchmen were the watchmen of Israel. You know, the many you see today. Matthew chapter 27, verse 51. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent. So even back then, there were earthquakes, you know, and those are signs that the Lord is really judging a place, you know, through earthquakes and everything. Mark chapter 15, verse 38. And the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom. So the outside, you know, the cover. Luke chapter 23, verse 45. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in the midst. So covered. This is Hebrews chapter 6, verse 19, which hope we have as an anchor of the soul, both sure and steadfast, and which entereth into that within the veil. And who's behind the veil? The hopeful elect. You see, because ultimately we are as a collective, we are the Lord's bridegroom. You know, and a wedding is going to take place between what you perceive as the so-called black man, Native American, and Latino man. There's going to be a gathering, and it's going to be like almost like a wedding, because this is going to be the Most High's full return back onto earth, you know, and manifesting something new, you know. So with that, this is Revelation chapter 21, verse 1. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. So this is after nuclear missiles have hit the earth, and fire is a very good, you know, cleansing agent. You know, as the apostles went over, it's very that's one of the best things to clean something. You know, if you if you've ever been on YouTube, and obviously everybody has, there are these pointless videos in which they show you like a guy with a flamethrower, and he'll burn something or fire. You know, anything having to do with fire, it's a cleansing agent. You know, if you had a giant wasp nest and you had a flamethrower, essentially all you'd have to do is just spray it one time, and that's a cleansing agent. It's going to kill the whole nest, bam, just instantly. Now imagine that, but thermonuclear heat. That's enough to just basically break anything down to a basic compound. So there was no more sea. And by sea, he's talking about basically the people of Israel, but that can also pertain unto, you know, because the Lord, because, you know, many times in the scriptures it talks about how we are numbered as the sand of the sea, which, you know, you can't put a number on how much sand or how many grains of sand are on the earth. So, you know, there's no more sea. And, you know, that can also mean water. You know what I mean? As in, there's no more word, no more anything, really. Because water is, you know, water is life. So, there's no more anything. This is verse 2. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Yahweh out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. All right? And so that new city is first of all the hopeful elect, the innumerable amount of angels, the 1/3, you know what I mean? Really a whole new manifestation of of life on earth, because after all this happens, the hopeful elect and the angels are going to be under the under the guise, or actually under the standard of Yahushua, Solomon, King David, amongst others, and it's going to be like what it was supposed to be from the beginning, you know. Uh, and there's going to be righteousness upon the earth, and that's it's going to happen, you know. This is verse 3. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, "Behold, the tabernacle of Yahweh is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Yahweh himself shall be with them, and be their power." All right? So basically what he's saying is Yahushua is going to come back, and ultimately the Most High is going to rule over this place. You know, once again, like intended, and those 144,000 elect men will be the judges of the earth. This is verse 4. And Yahweh shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. There shall be no more death, neither sorrow, nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain. For the former things are passed away. Right? Because after the nukes, there won't be anything. So all these things, you won't have to worry about these things. This is verse 5. And he that sat upon the throne said, "Behold, I make all things new." And he said unto me, "Write, for these words are true and faithful." So he was telling John to write these words down as they were being told to him, because ultimately the only reason why John was the only prophet to live was so that he could be revealed these things. That's what made John so important. That's why he's one of the most important, prominent figures in the Bible, is because he was one of the only ones to live, specifically to carry a message, which is the message that you're reading, that we're reading right now. Verse 6. And he said unto me, "It is done." So it cannot be changed. You know, the Lord isn't going to go all this way and then just stop. You know, he's already fully in motion. You know, and what do you learn in science class? That object, when it's in motion, the only time that it can come to a stop is if an opposite force acts upon it, you know? And who's going to come up against the Most High? That's why he asked that. What opposing force is going to stop Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai from doing what he said he's going to do in this book? Nothing. That's why he keeps asking, who's going to stop me? Nobody's going to stop the Most High. You know, all these things are going to take place, and that's why, you know, just like up here, these scandals are being unveiled. And verse 6. I am Alpha and Omega, so the beginning and the end, you know, because there were a lot of Greeks that were so-called Israelites, right, that were coming into their knowledge and understanding of being children of the Most High. So that's why he was speaking, you know, that's why he says, you know, Jew and Gentile, you know, and Greek, and the things like that, because there were a lot of Israelites that were there. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. All right. So that's one, and even that right there, verse 6, shows how a church, in essence, is wicked, because you're paying tribute. You know what I'm saying? Now, there's nothing wrong with, you know, hey, if you can, send a little money to your elder. You know, because you never know, that may help. Send a little money to the apostle. You never know, that may, you know, help, but not in the sense that you would go to a church like a lot of these Catholic churches. People are spending, you know, 20% of their check in church, and all that's happening is You can read it right here. You know, I don't even have to make any accusations. It's all right here. You know, so you're paying for essentially for you to go to church and get lied to. You know, so that's why he said, him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. So you're gonna freely give it, and you're gonna freely receive it. So that's how you know you gotta stay. You know, you gotta stay up out them churches. It's a very high point right there. And see, he only speaks. He only speaks to people who are trying to accept this for what it is. If you are thirsty for the true doctrine of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, you will freely get it, and you will gain your life. You will save your life also, you know. But if you turn against it, you'll lose your life, obviously. This is verse 7. He that overcometh shall inherit all things. And how do you overcome? By continuing to fast, continuing to eat only of the clean. You know, continue to follow your law, statutes, and commandments, keeping your house in order. You know, overcome, and you'll inherit all things through that kingdom that he's speaking about right now, that new Jerusalem. And I will be his power, and he shall be my son. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. So this isn't the lake of fire. That isn't talking about hell. That lake of fire is going to be America. Which it could, because when you look up brimstone is sulfur, right? Which is a main component of such weapons, you know. So these nuclear bombs are gonna basically be giant, giant brimstones. You know what I'm saying? Because brimstone, what's in brimstone is in the nuke. So essentially, it's the same thing. And you see, which is the second death, because you're, first of all, it's the second death because you're already dead. That's what he's saying. If you're seeing the nuke, if you see a nuke drop down on the earth, it's too late for you. You would categorize as the 2/3 instantly. So that's the thing. You see, because the 1/3 and the hopeful elect, they'll be in a chariot by then. So by the time you know that you are in the lake of fire, you already getting hit with the nuke. So that's why he's saying this is the second death, because the first death was you turning your back towards Yahushua HaMashiach. That was the first death. That's why the dead there's the talk of the dead congregation, and that this is the second death by nuclear missile. This is verse 9. And there came unto me one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials full of the 7 last plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come hither, I will show thee the bride, the Lamb's wife. Right? So he's going to show him who the Lamb's wife is. Verse 10. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from Yahweh. Right? So he's talking about the men of Israel. Okay? See that great and that high mountain, because there's so many of us. There's so many, because through the 12 tribes, there's so many different shades, so many different cultures, so many different, it's a high and great thing. So that great city, that holy Jerusalem, that's that holy people. That's that separate group of people. That's the 1/3, along with the 144,000 men governing over that 1/3, and essentially the 2/3 also, This is verse 11. Having the glory of Yahweh, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. Right? And why is that? Because our doctrine is clear as crystal. There is no gray area, so to speak. What is, what isn't, Verse 12. And had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. So once again, you come in through the gate. The gate of perceived heaven, right, has 12 gates. 3 in the north, 3 in the south, 3 in the west, and 3 in the east. And you come into your gate by your father. So if your father was a so-called black man, you would come through the gate of Judah. If your father was a so-called Puerto Rican man, you would come through the gate of Ephraim, and so on. If your father was a Haitian man, you would come through the gate of Levi, so on and so forth. That's essentially what was shown to John. That's why in the spirit he was taken and was showed these things, because the Most High can pause time, he can rewind time, he can go forwards, backwards, and in the spirit he can show you things. You know what I mean? So this is what we have to look forward to. This is going to be the real church, not this Catholic church that's falling. I'm going to finish reading this and then end the video. February 21st through 24th meeting of the presidents of more than 100 bishops conferences is believed to be the first of its kind. So that's a very big indicator that this is very serious. They're going to meet in person and they're going to say, hey, listen, we got to put a fucking lid on this thing. Okay? Because this is getting too bad. It's getting to the point, right, where all sorts of people are getting arrested, which that's just the Lord manifesting judgment upon you wicked ass devils. Y'all know exactly what y'all are doing. It says, and signals a realization at the highest levels of the church that clergy sex abuse is a global problem and not restricted to the Anglo-Saxon world. Okay, so world. So gotta get that. So once again, it has determined itself from a whole nother separate world. So if it really wants to do that, it can do that. Because I want to be a separate world from Catholics. I want to be a separate world from these Ishmaelites, these Hamites, man. Why would you want to share after the Lord has revealed so much on his hopeful elect? Why would you want to share these things with people who don't care? That's the crazy thing, is that you people are trying to bring people to salvation that, quite honestly, they hate you. Is a man really going to sit and listen to what you have to say if you're talking about, in the name of Mary and all this other shit? Like, no. You're coming in the wrong doctrine, and it's just not accepted. Period. This Anglo-Saxon world is not accepted. Only our world, and that's the world of Israel. Okay. Thought we'll just type in worlds. Yeah, okay. This is Hebrews chapter 1, verse 2. Hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, which is Yahushua, whom he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds. Right? So the Israel is a completely different world from everybody else. We're just in the same, we eat the same food, do the same things, but we are, the Israelite man first and foremost is the heir to this wretched place right now that you call the earth. And soon enough it's going to be made apparent. This is Hebrews chapter 11, verse 3. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of Yahweh, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. That's this right here. And I'm going to read that one more time. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 3. Through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the words of Yahweh. So you have to have faith in order to have the understanding. And the understanding is that this separate world, this Anglo-Saxon world right here, this world is it was made by the Most High as a stumbling block for those 2/3, as a trap, so to speak. And it says, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. So the things that are seen, you can see the things that are seen now. They're being made apparent. They're being made manifest, right? Were not made of things which do appear. So these are things that are appearing day by day by day. How long have we heard, man? Even as children, how long have we heard that that we had molesters of the youth within the church organization? How long have we heard that? We would make jokes about it all the time, you know. Like if you seen a priest, somebody would make the joke, because you were all kids. Somebody would make the joke, "Hey, we can't leave this guy alone with us. This guy's a priest." So this has been a big deal, but it hasn't been revealed like this. That's why the end of this verse is very important. So that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. Right? So I'm going to see if this video will play. It's bullshitting. Look.
At USA Children's and Women's
So-called
Hospital,
Edomite baby.
more families trust us to deliver their babies than any other hospital in the region. Our trained team will give you and your baby the best care. And if your baby needs more specialized care, we have the area's only Level 3 neonatal intensive care unit. Our promise to you is our mission. We help people lead longer, better lives.
Now we want to turn over to that major announcement coming from the Catholic Church, the Pope announcing the either promotion or the appointment of 14 new cardinals. This is major, major news. We're checking in with David Wright. David, tell me a little bit about who these men are that the Pope decided should become cardinals.
Hi, Maggie. He's the term of art is he's creating these cardinals. He's elevating them from the ranks of the bishops. 14 new cardinals, 11 of whom will be eligible to vote for the next pope. These men come from 12 countries around the world. And it's not so much a reflection of an ideological makeover of the church, so much as it is an expression of Pope Francis's vision of the Catholic Church as a worldwide institution with lots of different local concerns. Perhaps the most significant, the very first name he mentioned, Raphael Seco. He is the patriarch of the Chaldean Church. He's now the Cardinal of Iraq.
You saw homeboy sweating? He knows what time it is, man. This is unprecedented times. This is almost like a ousting of a bunch of shit, I mean, it says right here. He created 14 new cardinals, man. Audio fucking up.
The bloody aftermath of the U.S. invasion.
David, I'm curious, the appointment of these cardinals, as you mentioned, is a huge deal for the Catholic Church. But for people that maybe don't understand what a cardinal even is or does, or why it matters for the Catholic Church, or why it matters for people that aren't Catholic, break it down for us. Why should I really care about these 14 guys?
Well, this is a fair question. These are the princes of the church. They run archdioceses worldwide in the world's largest denomination. But perhaps more significantly, these are the folks, the College of Cardinals, who also run the oldest election system continuously in operation, the conclave that will elect the next pope and decide the direction of the church for.
if you hear what he just said, they have one of the oldest like voting systems. So essentially, America gets their they get their voting style and voting system from this because the Vatican is in Italy. You know, so Rome, America is the new Rome. You know, so of course this is going to have high. There's a very high Roman vibration. That's why they're called Roman Catholic, because America is the new Rome.
Future generations. Voting in the College of Cardinals is restricted to cardinals who are under the age of 80. There are 200 plus cardinals in all. 125 of them are old enough to vote, almost half, or a little bit more than half. And half of those have been appointed or elevated, created by Pope Francis. So at this point, he's had a huge change. The addition of 14 new cardinals, 11 of whom can vote. That's 10% of the College of Cardinals almost that are voting for the next pope. That means that the next pope will likely is more likely to share Pope Francis's convictions.
Any idea, David, on why Pope Francis would be doing this now? Why this month? Why this year? What's happening?
He can see the clock ticking, and he is getting up there himself.
He can see the clock ticking. He can see the clock ticking. I mean, hey man, this so-called white man knows what time it is. I think he been reading some of the scripture, man, because everybody knows that this is a big deal, you know. And there goes the audio. Well, damn.
To step down at some point, precedent set by his immediate predecessor, Pope Benedict, or he also knows his health has been a source of concern as well, and so inevitably the day will come when he will no longer be the leader of the Catholic Church. Also significant in today's ceremony is the fact that a lot of people don't know there are actually three ranks of bishops. There are bishop deacons, bishop priests, cardinal deacons, cardinal priests, and cardinal bishops. Why that's significant is that the cardinal bishops, the top rank of the College of Cardinals, includes the dean of the college. That's the person who runs the conclave. The current dean of the College of Cardinals is now 90 years old, and the new crop that Pope Francis created today includes the likely successor to Cardinal Soldano. That is the current Vatican Secretary of State. He will run the next election.
Well, David, thanks so much. You really broke it down for me. I understand it now. I appreciate it. Shall we be talking again?
He compares those elections a lot to America's elections, you see? That's because that guy knows that there's I mean, look at this guy. And can you believe that this guy right here is an Israelite, man? Hailing all the way from Argentina to sell you people out. So I gotta see if I can... Gotta save that for the title. But alright, basically the Roman Catholic Church is falling. He's appointed 14 new cardinals. Those cardinals are obviously just as wicked. This guy he looks like he's shitting his pants right now. He knows that the Most High is coming back soon with his innumerable amount of angels that ultimately are going to destroy this place and establish the new, a new heaven and a new earth. You know, just like we read about a few minutes ago. But with that, I just want to say all praise, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem Rakakwadash, for revealing these mysteries, unto the hopeful elect, for giving the spirit to the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone, who then have taught time and time again the doctrine of Yahweh Shai Mashiach onto the younger people. You know, some younger, some older. You know, and with that, I just want to say shalom to the hopeful elect.